Hey y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird election history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
Man, I screwed that up, but you know what? It's just that week.
That's the kind of day we're both having.
Look, today is a really, really good day. Like, Steve Bannon is indicted.
So true. I didn't read enough articles about that today, and that's why my serotonin levels are so low.
You know, neither have I. I'm saving that for the end of the day when this is done.
Love it.
But I do have another bit of fun news for you. Our good friend Jason Ravensburg, I believe his name is supposed to be.
Ravensburg.
Dude has been impeached, or he is up in an impeachment hearing in South Dakota.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it's finally fucking happening.
Does justice live? Can we take credit for this?
I think just petty bullshit lives, where Governor Kristi Noem just hates him so much that she is pushing everyone in the state house to try to impeach him as quickly as goddamn possible.
Wow. Well, I'll take that small Venn diagram slice between me and Kristi.
It's really nice. You know, just the fact that someone's what's the word I'm looking for? His consequences have come home to roost. That he's killed a man, allegedly. Allegedly has killed a man.
Just to watch him die.
Well, and is now finally getting impeached almost a year after he did it.
Oh, well, here at Gadfly, our hearts go out to the friends and family of Joseph Beaver.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to be keeping track of that as time goes by. But since so much good news has happened today, I kind of wanted to do a good episode.
Oh my goodness. We get a feel-good episode.
It's a good, feel-good, happy episode. And you know, it's been a while since we've talked about the women's suffrage movement. And when we did, it was about Victoria Woodhull and her Khan family. And we kind of talked about her for 4 hours.
A little bit. Yeah, I do remember that.
So I kind of figured it's about time that we start talking about other folks in the suffrage movement. You know, folks who are genuinely good people, folks who really kind of trailblazed everything, but have also been completely forgotten to history.
Yeah, the ladies.
Exactly. And so I think the best place to start is kind of like a small little class on how things were going for women in New Mexico. So yeah, we're going to be going to New Mexico for this particular episode. And New Mexico is kind of weird when it came to the suffrage movement. A lot of the states in the West, particularly west of the Mississippi, were completely fine with giving women the right to vote really early on. As we know, Wyoming is the first state to ever allow women to vote. It was a very progressive state for quite some time. But compared to every other state in the West, New Mexico was very ardently against the idea. It was kind of fervently misogynist, was very worried that if women got the right to vote, then like a meatloaf would be president. Who knows? Who knows what women want?
This is fascinating because like I think of New Mexico and Arizona as like brothers or like siblings in a way in terms of states, and Arizona is like so nutso, and then New Mexico is just like laid back blue NBD. We're just, you know, chili capital of the world.
You guys want some meth and some Tex-Mex? It'll be totally fine, man.
Here's some turquoise. Let's align your chakras. NBD.
2 cities and UFOs.
Yes. It's 2 cities and aliens.
It's a chill, weird place. And I think it kind of goes to show how quickly things in the West have turned, where you have Wyoming being the bastion of liberal idealism, and you have, you know, the socialist movement and the communist movement going on in North Dakota and Montana around the same time. And then you have New Mexico, which is just filled with old Spanish families who want women to have
Catholicism is to blame.
I think you can place a lot of this on Roman Catholicism.
And I will.
Indeed. So very tiny changes did end up happening, but it's mostly because there weren't a lot of local folks leading the suffrage movement. We are going to be talking about Annalena Otero Warren at some point in time. Not today. Her story is long and very interesting. So one day we'll be getting to her. But for the most part, it was just women from out of town coming into Albuquerque and Santa Fe trying to get people really into the suffrage movement and kind of spinning their wheels for about 2 decades, give or take. So in 1912, women would finally be allowed to vote, but only in school board elections. And that was it. Also, if you were a Native American woman, you would not be allowed to vote at all. Fun fact, in New Mexico, if you were a Native American and lived on a reservation, you were not legally allowed to vote until 1948.
Oh, that is so recent.
Yeah, it's really soon.
That's one of those history tidbits that needs to be said louder for the back.
Yeah. New Mexico is very strange in that regard, especially since the entire northwest part of the state is pretty much the Navajo Nation. It is
Yeah.
so much of the population is Native American. It's very fucked. So in 1912, women get to vote for school board elections, and that's fucking it. So the various suffrage movements in New Mexico are like, okay, all right, we get this. So what we're going to do is we're going to get as many women as we fucking can to vote for school board and show you that we want to vote. So around 1919, they're pushing all of this. And as we know, around about that time is when the amendment to allow women to vote is passed in the House and the Congress, goes to the states. And eventually in 1921, New Mexico becomes the 32nd state to approve the amendment for women to vote. And it eventually ends up in the Constitution that women are allowed to be in elected office as well. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. New Mexico ends up being the 32nd state to allow voting for women out of the 35 that were needed, if I remember correctly. Okay. So they got in just under the line, but it was around the time that people are kind of getting strong-armed into voting for it instead of, doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
We don't have all day. Strong-arming needs to happen.
Another fun fact, the last state to approve the amendment was Mississippi in 1984 because they forgot to.
Oh my God. First of all, no, you didn't, Mississippi. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see your text. Oh man. My God.
Look, we were busy suppressing Black people. Life was tough for a while. It's 1984. We're a little bit more free now to do shit, not,
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. We're no sorry. It was just that we couldn't tell if you included Black women in that amendment.
Yes, we did. Dr. Lyndon Johnson. Yes, we did. Yeah, so a lot of it's saying they forgot to, but also by that point, it was pretty much national law anyway, because enough states had voted for the amendment. It was more so just just for show, a ceremonial goof, if you will. Women love their goofs.
God damn it.
So it's 1921, and New Mexico is now a state where women can vote, which leads us to the real topic of this week. A housewife by the name of Soledad de Chávez Chacón. Now, she was known as Lala to her friends and family, but Soledad was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1890. She had a bit of a middle-class upbringing. Soledad did have the luck of being born into a pair of prominent families. On one hand is the Chávez family. On the other hand is the Baca family. Now, both have been in the New Mexico area since the 1600s. Yeah, they are old school families. Both of them have counties in New Mexico to this day named after them. Famous people come from both sides of the family. A long line of politicians come from the Chávez side. From the Baca side, you also get a ton of politicians as well. And probably the most fun, I would say, is you have Fabiola Cabeza de Baca Gilder, who invented the U-shaped taco. Yeah, so she comes from the family
to whom we owe so much.
I know, the inaccurate corn taco that we know and love today comes from this family. And
amazing.
Yeah, and so the Chávez and the Baca family are still very, very prominent in New Mexico, which is kind of what you get when you're in the same state since the 17th century, and you're allotted whole plots of land to do with what you will.
Since like the invention of statehood on the continent, basically.
Yeah, it's, a lot of Spanish families at the time when New Mexico went from being a Spanish territory to an American territory, part of the agreement was they would get tracts of land that were guaranteed to them that would be honored by America, that had been signed by the Spanish government. So technically the land is always theirs, and they were pretty much the only people who got that guarantee.
Well, the Navajo look on like, are you fucking kidding me?
Look, if they wanted their land, they also wouldn't be in Arizona.
Oh my God. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So Soledad comes from two very, very big families. However, the main thing is when you come from a big, rich family, as we know from some of our friends, some people get all the money and some people get none of the money. Mm-hmm. And Soledad, for the most part, comes from the side of the family that gets none of the money, for the most part. Now, she did have a bit of a middle class upbringing, but she wasn't like the wealthy, well-respected Chávez or Baca family. Her dad was a bank manager. Her mom was a bit of a housewife, and she really didn't have that bad of a childhood, especially compared to everyone else that we talked to. She had a downright angelic childhood. Oh. She was an excellent student. She studied the mandolin and piano and carried on with that pretty much for the rest of her life. And she learned how to crochet until she was pretty much an expert at it. So we should say my Spanish, I got a C+ in high school. That was mostly like, hey, we should let you graduate, but We recognize that this is something that you will not be speaking on a very regular basis. So apologies ahead of time there. But she grew up in the Salvador Amijo house, which had been built by her great-grandfather. And it kind of looks like a ranch-style apartment complex for the most part, but knowing that one dude built it in, say, the 17 or 1800s is kind of impressive. They ended up selling it in the 50s, but it's on the U.S. National Registry of Historic Places as of right now.
Very cool.
If you would like, you can rent it out for wedding receptions since it's right next to the Hotel Albuquerque.
Ooh, let's do that.
You're already married.
No, not for a wedding, for like a pod function.
Oh my God, a podcast convention. All right. Yes. So we have to go see that goat mayor in Texas first. And then on the way, we make our way.
Yeah, we drive over.
Great. It's a simple drive.
We'll see an alien.
Yeah, it'll be fine. So Soledad would end up graduating from Albuquerque High School in 1908 with a college prep diploma in Latin Spanish. And this led her to being accepted into Albuquerque Business College, where she received a degree in accounting 1 year later. Now, I'm not sure if that's because she got a lot of college credits when she was in high school, because she did pretty much go to a college prep sort of location, or if she was just that good in college. I really couldn't find anything about Albuquerque Business College, what it was then and what it is now.
I'm willing to believe both, but with a leaning towards the fact that like it was just different back then. So yeah, if you were at a prep and then like, fine, you took a couple more degrees and boom.
Exactly, yeah. Now, being a woman in the 20th century, in the early times of that, she decided to go the most traditional route that she possibly could and immediately got married after graduating college. So
she got her MRS.
Yeah. Oh my God. Soledad would marry the manager of a furniture store named Eugenio Eduardo Chacón, or Ed as he was known by most. And for the next 12 years, Soledad would have the typical married life. She'd raise a pair of children, settle into her time as a housewife. She'd even join a handful of clubs, which included El Club de Terrario, El Club de Tina, and the Women's Club. But the most unique of the groups that she joined was the Minerva Club, which is a social group founded by the Women's Freedom League, which pushed women's suffrage and equal rights. Now, the WFL had been founded in 1907 and was created as an outlet for militant but nonviolent protest. And this would include things such as paying taxes, not filling out the census, and chaining themselves to the House of Parliament. One example they brought up is 3 women handcuffed themselves to the grill at Parliament. So like a heating grill, and the locks on the cuffs were so good that they had to cut out the grill instead of the locks.
Suck it, grill.
Probably in one of the more misfortunate moments. In 1909, they approached a ballot box and 2 women decided to pour a corrosive substance on it to destroy the votes and ended up accidentally hitting a poll worker with the substance.
No.
And so they kind of went to prison for what they did. But it was like an actress and a playwright. Both ended up going to prison.
Oh, no.
But that was mostly the low point. I think after that, they were like, no more acid, just handcuffs.
You could just use water.
Exactly. Oh my, that's a really good point. You could just, God damn it. Look, not to mansplain here, but I heard it from a woman first. You should use water. And so they ended up creating this club called the Minerva Club in London, where they could meet up, talk, tactics and protests and things they believed. And eventually the Minerva Club across the pond ended up in the States and had locations across the country, including Albuquerque.
Minerva is also the Roman equivalent of Athena. Makes sense. It's like goddess of war and wisdom.
So that being said, nothing indicates that Soledad was anything like a leader or, led any of the activities that her cause created that would lead her to be arrested. She was present and she was there and she supported a lot of things that the WFL supported, and she was down for the cause. She just never got arrested and was never really noted for being. But it's her work at this time that would actually gain the attention of the more politically minded family members. In particular, her cousin Dennis Chávez. Now, Dennis had been more politically minded, and he also ended up coming from the dirt poor fucking side of the family. He had to drop out of school. He pretty much had to make his way however he could. But eventually, he got into politics once he was able to get into college. And at the age of 28, he got hooked up with the former state Democratic Party chairman, Andreas Jones. Now, at the time, Jones is running for the Senate, but he's also the head of a lot of women's suffrage groups at the time as well. So he's very much down for the cause. And so he ends up hiring Dennis to be his Spanish translator during his senatorial run. And after winning about 51% of the vote, Andreas thanked Dennis by hooking him up with a job as clerk for the Senate, and even got his wife Imelda a job in the Department of Commerce.
Nice.
And somehow Dennis even found the time to enroll in law school while he was there.
Yes, Dennis, do all the things.
It blows my mind. People who can do law school and literally anything else blow my fucking mind every time we read about it.
Yep.
Like either you are incredibly passionate or you have killed 3 people.
Or you've done too much.
Yeah, you need to stop. Fucking go to the woods, goddamn retire. But yeah, so Dennis is going to law school. He's clerking in the Senate. And during the time that he's working, he ends up looking out the window and notices the multitude of suffragettes who are protesting day in and day out, and decides that if he really wants to help the cause, he kind of needs to go out there and talk to these women and figure out what he can do.
Oh, Dennis is a woke bae.
Well, it helps because one of the women out there is an old friend of his, Nina Otero Warren, who we're going to be talking about in the future, who is pretty much the suffragette of New Mexico. She had taken Dennis under her wing at some point in time, gotten him politically connected. It's pretty much the whole reason that he's in DC right now. And she convinces him, hey, we need to try to figure out what we can do for New Mexico. And the thing, though, is he ends up deciding kind of the exact opposite of what Nina wants him to. Because at the time, Nina's a Republican, and the suffragette movement is purely a Republican issue. And just to remind everyone, at this time, Republicans are the liberals.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're the party of Lincoln.
Yeah, exactly. But Dennis, growing up, being a Republican, kind of realized his family was dirt poor, and being a Republican really wasn't helping that. He wasn't seeing any of the policies kind of trickle down to him. He wasn't seeing anything changing in his neighborhood. So he decided the way to change that was to become a Democrat.
Ooh.
And so he realized that pretty much women getting the right to vote was going to be an inevitability. At some point in time, it was going to happen. And if the Democrats are smart, what they're going to do is figure out a way to make this not just a Republican issue. Because if they decide that it's just Republicans and they're going to fight it till their dying breath, they're going to lose elections till the end of goddamn time.
Oh.
So what Dennis does is he begins courting the Democratic Party in New Mexico and says, hey, you motherfuckers need to find some goddamn women and they need to run and you need to convince them that they need to vote.
There's a Dems in disarray joke somewhere in here.
I'm just picturing monocles falling into martini glasses and a lot of harumphs and anger. So Dennis goes back to New Mexico in 1920 to start doing this work. And by 1922, him and Imelda had already started to make inroads with the party. With a new statewide election on the horizon, they needed to make as huge a splash as possible. And the only way to do that was not only to endorse a woman for any position, you had to endorse a woman for a major position. So the bigwigs and him got together and they decided, you know what? Secretary of State's a job that we think a woman can do.
Ooh.
Because at the time, pretty much all Secretary of State does is confirm the elections, does a lot of paperwork, which, you know, secretaries do that all the time.
True.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You know what? That's something we can trust a woman to do.
You can trust a lady brain with this, but you're right. It is like a name brand position.
Yeah. I mean, granted, in the present day, that position has changed a bunch, but at the time for a brand new territory, that was pretty much what you're doing. And so as the story goes, now this might not be 100% true. This is how the legend goes. Dennis and 4 other representatives of the Democratic Party decide to go to Soledad's house. In Dennis's mind, Soledad is the perfect person for this job because she has a history of suffragettes. She is best friends with his wife, and that's good enough.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, and technically she's a Chavez. She's also a Baca. Why not?
Right. She's got the names.
So he goes to her house with these 4 other dudes, and she's in the middle of baking a cake.
Oh.
And so they all walk into her kitchen and said, hey, we would like your permission to put your name down for a nominee for Secretary of State. To which she immediately said, quote, oh, no, not me.
Soledad, yes, you.
So there's a reason why she probably responded this way. And it seems that the majority of the reason is she didn't want to come out and make it seem like she was a power-hungry woman.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, because if she immediately came out and said, yes, and here's what we're going to fucking do. Sit the fuck down. I'm giving you cake.
Just like strong arms all the cake materials, like clean off the counter, brings out rolls of papers that she's been working on through the night.
Oh my God. Grabs a sofa and a decanter of whiskey and just drops it next to the dining table.
Exactly.
Yeah, so she's essentially like, oh, me, I'm a woman. I can't be doing that. And they keep being like, no, Soledad, you're perfect for the job. And eventually she's like, well, I guess if you
twist my arm.
And just like that, for the first time ever, a major party had endorsed a woman for a major state seat.
Yes.
So we already got one. We're going to keep track of like ceilings that have been busted here. So far, that's one.
Yay.
But Soledad did say something before she accepted the nomination, is she would have to ask her husband and her father's permission first. But they did say yes. So there is that. Now, I would love to tell you about a Republican challenger. Is a dude by the name of Joseph DeGeorge. He's a French dude living in Taos, New Mexico. That's about as far as I know about him. Now there is a guy named Joseph DeGeorge who eventually became the mayor of Taos, was a state senator. This all happened in the 40s and 50s, so this might be his kid. It might be him. I can't find any evidence one way or the other.
So weird. What was this little Arcadian soul lost in Tao for?
Look,
house.
Here's the thing that blows my mind is pretty much every Republican from that election, I can't find shit about them. And I don't know if it's just that I'm a bad researcher, if I'm not at the Albuquerque Library searching through papers. If I look through all the old papers, there's barely anything about these people.
They were just so crushed by Soledad. That's what
they're like, you nominated a woman? We give up. We're done. We're done. We can't beat this.
Burn my birth certificate. I want nothing to do with this country anymore.
So she ends up running against this guy. And the election really kind of depended on who you were voting for governor anyway. On the Democrat side, you had a state senator by the name of John Hinkle, who everyone loved. And it should be noted that terms at this time were 2 years long and no one ran for a second term for governor. It was essentially, you're there for 2 years and you're done. So the Democrats had James Hinkle. On the other side, the Republicans nominated a dentist that I can find fuck all about.
What?
It's literally 1922 seems like a year the Republicans just decided to either give up or lost a bet. It's very confusing. So it essentially decides who you want to be governor. You have these two dudes. One people know of, the other is a dentist no one knows. And clearly, the Democrats win. They sweep the entire slate. And Soledad pretty much gets the same percentage as James Hinkle does. And so in one swoop, you now have an elected woman who has a state position. But not only that, Soledad Chávez de Chacón is the first woman of color to hold any major position in America.
Yes, Soledad!
Stealing.
1922! Boom!
I would also like to know, no one knows who the fuck she is. And it's frustrating to me. So she ends up getting the job pretty much by default. And what immediately begins is a whirlwind of bullshit. So first, she gets the chance to pick her own assistant secretary of state. And she wanted someone she could trust. So she naturally picked her best friend, Yamelda Espinosa Chavez, who was also Dennis's wife. And immediately Dennis said, "No, you are not going to do it. I forbid it. The job's in Santa Fe. I'm in Albuquerque. That is too far.
Who's going to make my dinner?"
Exactly. Fucking pretty much. And it's just like Dennis, who has been down for the cause since day one. The chance that his wife gets to have any power when it's inconvenient for him, he says, fuck that shit.
I take back my woke bay comment. Shame on you, Dennis.
Yeah. And just for the fun of it, Dennis does become a long-term congressman for the state of New Mexico at some point in time. And so Soledad's kind of left in the wind. And the party says, it's totally fine. We know the perfect person for this job. Soledad, you should ask your husband.
What?
So Ed, who has no experience doing this, no experience of paperwork or anything, he's a furniture store manager.
Yeah.
But, the party wants her to ask him. So she asks him and he's pretty much like, I don't know. I already have a job in Santa Fe where I'm going to get to manage my own furniture store. And if I take this job, then I can't do that. So I don't know. And eventually the party has to grab him by the lapels and say, you're fucking doing this, Ed. You are goddamn doing this.
No.
Yeah. And so Ed, against his will, becomes the assistant secretary of state of New Mexico.
And now his wife is his boss? This isn't good for anyone in 1922.
By all rights, this should have led to a divorce. It really, really should have. But it didn't. They figured out a way to actually kind of make it work. But it's also because she kind of got kept busy with what could be described as bullshit, complete bullshit. This would be started with the fact that a little bit before the inauguration, there was a typical party that would be held for the new nominees and for the people who won. It'd be a bit of a party of sorts. And at each party, there would be a reception line, which was where all the people who hosted the party and all the people who were the dignitaries and the guests of honor would stand in line, welcome everyone who had shown up. It's a boring, outdated sort of thing, but at the time, it was really good to let you know who the important people are at the party. So you had the new governor, the new lieutenant governor, and the papers would note this is the first time that a secretary of state was not welcome in the reception line.
Shame on them.
Yeah. But there was one thing that Soledad got to do. She got to plan parties.
I swear, We had sexual harassment training today at my day job, and this was something that we even talked about like that second shift work within the office of like putting the fucking coffee mugs into the fridge and things like. Do you find that you expect the women around the office to do this bullshit?
Look, just do what any self-respecting man does and let your coffee cup mold at your desk.
And I do.
Yeah, baseball and other things.
How's that for equality?
Exactly. So
it can be just as disgusting.
It was honestly such bullshit what Soledad had to do, because the party committees were essentially created for the wife of the governor. Like the first woman of New Mexico got to lead all these committees, and the wife of the lieutenant governor and the secretary of state, they all get together and make these like luncheons and afternoon teas and evening balls and such. And because she was a woman, Soledad got put on every single one of these fucking committees.
Nope, that's Ed's job now.
You really want to trust Ed to a T? Like at best, he could recommend what chairs are going to be good, but you're still not.
Suck it up and learn.
All right, Ed, this is what tea is. I know that we don't drink a lot of it here in New Mexico, but aside from that, she did have a bit of a job. Like I said, her job would be certifying elections, ensuring the proper paperwork was there. A new law would pass that said she was allowed to issue mortgages for very specific reasons. So the Secretary of State job is starting to branch out a bit, but it still kind of sucks in that regard, especially because most of the news of what she did never made the papers. But do you know what did make the papers, Una?
All the time she fucked up?
Actually, not even that. So one of the things I discovered in the various New Mexico newspapers I looked at is there is a personal section. Now, today we view that as, man zigging woman, please have size 14 feet, that sort of thing.
Oddly specific, but go on.
Look, don't judge. But the personals back then was essentially, what are the rich people doing? And so she would show up in the paper if she had a guest in town.
So it was like the page 6.
100%. Yeah, it was nothing but like really boring gossip.
Yeah.
And so like, oh, you're going home for Christmas to Albuquerque with the family. Got to put that in the personals. Or your aunt's in town and she's staying for a week. Great. Put it in the personals. So she pretty much just showed up in that. But the only other time that she showed up was to describe what dresses, gowns, and outfits she wore to each event. And I'm not going to lie, she does sound like she has an amazing sense of fucking style. There are times that I believe it was described like a green satin dress with like black applique over the top of it or something like that. Or she wore like black dresses when no one else did. And like it sounded,
yeah, girl.
She had a good sense of style, and I'm glad they mentioned it. But at the same fucking time, tell me what she's doing. I want to know.
Who gets a mortgage?
Exactly. Well, they did list the people who got mortgages by county, but it was boring, so I didn't include it. So on May 13th, 1924, things would kind of change permanently for Soledad. It was at that time that Lieutenant Governor Jose Baca began to complain of an illness. It was discovered to be pneumonia, and was quickly presented with remedies and rest. Now, pneumonia nowadays is something you can kind of end up curing yourself of, or you go to the hospital, you get some antibacterials, or of course, I'm forgetting what they're called.
Antibiotics.
Antibiotics, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is still pretty dangerous, and you can have walking pneumonia for like months.
Yeah, but at that time, it's pretty freaking deadly. And so everyone's freaking out about Jose Baca having pneumonia, to the point that 5 days later, dude dies.
Oh!
Now, the bummer with Jose Baca is he has no Wikipedia page. He's barely mentioned in the newspapers because lieutenant governor is kind of less of a job than anything else. Lieutenant governor, for the most part, is essentially there in case the governor dies or resigns in disgrace. So
it's like your spare tire just died.
Exactly, yeah. Or if like the lieutenant governor leaves the state for a bit, or if the governor leaves the state for a bit, then the lieutenant governor is temporarily the governor.
Right.
And so Jose Baca dying, it kind of fucked up people for a bit. He was a Roman Catholic. Everyone was like, oh, he's such a great Catholic. He's a good man and all this. And then 2 days after, they're like, wait a minute, what's the transition of power in New Mexico?
Yes.
And they realize that the third person in charge is Secretary of State. And if Governor Hinkle dies, the state's going to be run by a woman.
Yes.
But the thing is, like less than 8 days after that, Governor Hinkle says, hey guys, I need to let you know, I'm going to the Democratic National Convention in New York City. It's going to be a bit. I'm not putting in a new lieutenant governor because pretty much the next election's in 6 months anyways. So congratulations, Soledad is going to be the acting governor in June.
Yes! Yes.
And suddenly, not only do we have the first woman governor, the first woman of color governor at the same fucking time.
Oh, I love this. Get drunk with power, girl.
It's, oh my God, she burned everyone. She fucking ran a sword through people. It was great. But yeah, and true to his word, on June 21st, Hinkle would leave for New York. And the moment he crossed state lines, Soledad was the acting governor of New Mexico.
Yeah, bow down.
And yeah, this should have been a huge deal, but a lot of dumb shit happened. First and foremost, a lot of big newspapers were like, a woman in charge? This is a story. Tell us all about it. And some newspapers decided to send out a bio of Soledad that included maybe a sentence about her and then 3 paragraphs about the men in her life. Like, they're talking about Ed, they're talking about all of the dudes in her past and everything. There's barely fucking anything about Soledad whatsoever. And most of the information was wrong.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, because it's like no one saw women as fully formed humans. So the idea of like having to write 5 inches worth of article space about someone or something, it's like, I don't fucking know this like thing, this entity.
We elected a Globe and now it's running the state.
Yeah, the Globe sits on the desk. Anyway, the Globe is owned by a prosperous young man who made his money mining.
They knew it. They fucking knew it. You know, behind every good Globe is a rich man.
Or a wizard.
Oh, if only it was a wizard. The Wizard of New Mexico is running the state. All bow down. Get ready to get fucked, Arizona. He knows 3 spells and all of them will kill you.
He should. Mexico should be run by a wizard with city names like Albuquerque and alien life force.
It blows my mind that not every state has an official wizard or witch running things, because I think that would give a state a leg up. But you know, on her first day, they did get a quote from her. Quote, being a loyal member of Governor Hinkle's administration, it shall be my earnest endeavor during his absence to follow his policies inaugurated by him in all matters upon wherein a decision may be required. Which, yeah, that's pretty blank. That's a blanket statement, but you know, who knows what our ovaries are going to do? And you kind of need a statement like that to calm down the men folk.
Definitely. And it's all like, I appreciate that because it's also like, yeah, I am lieutenant governor. This is what a lieutenant governor does. Like, I'm not here to stir up shit.
Yeah.
Yet.
So the press would note that her first day was pretty boring. They did note that she showed up in a lavender dress, and the office was just covered in flowers because Governor Hinkle's wife had ordered a bunch and put them all around the room.
Yes, because ladies support ladies.
She met with various dignitaries and guests who were like, a woman running a state, this I gotta see. She signed a requisition for equipment from the National Guard, and most of the day she made her way through stacks of pardon requests. Because if you are suddenly governor out of nowhere, people are gonna ask not to die. And so she got a whole stack of them. There was one that the newspapers noted, and Una, I want to know if you would approve this. So one part said, hey, all the old timers in prison, they've been there a while. Who are they gonna hurt? Let them out. But also there's part 2. Now for part 2, I want you to find the prettiest woman in the entire prison system. I want you to let her go, sort of, because I want you to immediately send her to my house and make her marry me.
This was a letter that she got from pardoning from like a stranger being like, I have the hots for this imprisoned woman.
Didn't even name a woman, just said, find the prettiest. Just find a pretty one. Send her to me under requirement of forced marriage.
Wow.
That's it. So
Craigslist was invented.
I mean, it blows my mind. That's the one pardon that the newspapers are going to be like, oh, we got to print this.
Well, I gotta go with the newspapers on that one.
I mean, it is perfectly wackadoo, but still, it's just like, you have an entire stack of pardons. Fucking mention one that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Doesn't even name someone. I mean, a part of me really wanted to dig through the prison notes at the time to try to find out what women were in prison.
Ooh.
But I pretty much guarantee it's either someone who's done a murder or done a bunch of murders. So essentially, you're forcing a murderer to marry you. I don't think it's going to end the way you think.
I just figured it would be like women who got gaslighted by their husbands, and instead of mental health sanitarium, they got placed in prison. I'm sorry, did I just make it dark?
No, you made it historically accurate. God damn it. I mean, either which way, that dude's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna go well. Someone's getting his dick
So
bit off.
so actually Soledad, like
Her pen hovered over the pardon request for an hour, they say, thinking
she
to
thought
herself,
through it a little bit longer and thought, maybe
"Man,
I
I'm
would be
gonna-
doing a service.
what would Julia Louis-Dreyfus do?" So yeah, she did end up signing one pardon request that ended up coming through for a dude by the name of Joseph Maloney, or his alias name was Frank Petty. Now he seems to be like a teenage kid who came to New Mexico, stole a car, got caught, and was sent to prison. The head of the prisons was like, we've been watching this dude for a number of years. He's a model prisoner. He's a really nice guy. We should just let him go.
Yeah,
And
did his
Soledad
time.
agreed, signed his pardon, and said he is pardoned so long as his dad pays his way back to Chicago and his dad guarantees that he will find him work.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I haven't been able to find anything on Joseph Maloney or anything. I choose to believe it worked. He's in Chicago. He opened like a deep dish pizza place.
Yes.
And changed his name to Lou Malnati.
I love this story.
Yeah, kind of on the other coin of this, she did require a prison in Kansas to immediately transfer over a prisoner who had been found guilty of grand theft auto as well, but had left the state and gotten arrested in Kansas. And so he was about to get out of prison. They said, hey, by the way, we need to try him for grand theft auto. Would you mind sending this guy?
Yes, send his ass over here. I am Soledad.
I am the reason the dicks are missing in this state. Fucking fear me. And that's pretty much it. But there were a couple events that were really notable. For one, she was the guest of honor at the New Mexico Museum of Art. And this time, Una, she was front and center of the receiving line.
Hell fucking yeah.
But not only her. There was a woman by the name of Grace Melvin who was also there. And it took me forever to find her first name because it was always Mrs. Male name.
Right.
But Grace's big thing is she was the official state game warden in 1922 and the only woman in all of America to have such a position.
Oh my God.
Now, a lot of hunters and trappers did not like her, and a lot of modern folks don't like her that much either because they're like, she got the job as a patronage pretty much. But at the same time, it's a fucking woman game warden. You can... Like, her books are available online. If you could find them, they're like $1,500 for an original copy.
God. Well, I don't need original.
Exactly. Essentially, at this party, I don't really know what happened, but the two became very good work friends really quickly after this.
Oh my God. Don't mind me. I'm just going to go onto an archive of our own and start writing the fan fiction for this.
Look, there's another fanfic you can write. I'm getting to it. So Soledad would end up serving as governor until July 5th. And much to the amazement of all the men in the state, it hadn't burned to the ground. Everything was
how about
fine.
that? You know, the way your house doesn't burn to the ground, even though you continue burning everything to the ground.
Una, you're being emotional. Go cook a roast.
I will slam this computer shut.
How do you even make a roast? I don't even know how to do that. I say that as if it's something I know how to do. Other than you put a slab of meat in the crock pot and pray.
Yeah, set it to low, wait 16 hours.
See, that's where I'm going wrong, is I'm cooking it for an hour and then wondering what the fuck has happened.
Why do I keep getting salmonella poisoning?
Look, if salmonella is a way of telling men you need to try again. Anyway. So she serves as governor, everything's fine, and the Santa Fe New Mexican would even declare, quote, Soledad is a credible substitute.
Like margarine.
Yeah. They also said she is owed a bouquet, and that if anyone wants to send one, they'll pay the bill.
Oh my God.
That's worth her service. That's worth being a credible substitute. The National Guard would end up honoring her. They created Camp Chacón, which existed temporarily outside Fort Bliss for a number of exercises. And initially she wasn't going to go there, but she got dragged there by the governor as well. And so they all shook hands and expected the troops and that whole thing. And finally, for all her hard work, she'd be renominated for the Secretary of State unanimously by the Democrats.
Oh, damn.
And this would also be the first time that I saw that she got a political ad, too. It was bigger than every article I'd ever seen about her. It was about a quarter page. It was her looking all demure, and it just said, a suitable Secretary of State, a suitable governor, shall continue being suitable, or something like that. It was very, very demure.
Yeah, so milquetoast.
Yeah. Just like, I'll vote for her, man, but you got to do better than this. I'm missing my dick because of her, because I wrote a dumb pardon request. But yeah, so she ends up getting renominated. No clue who the Democrat is. The Progressive Party did run a woman, though, which I thought was interesting. A woman by the name of Margaret Titman, which,
Ooh.
yeah. And once again, it was not a close race, and she ends up winning re-election again. And during this time, she's campaigning with Grace Melvin also. Just kind of going around the state campaigning.
All those long nights together.
I know. Oh my God, it'd be great. But after winning re-election, life pretty much returned to normal for Soledad. The newspapers went back to reporting her visitors and her fancy dresses that she wore. But two somewhat major things did occur during her last 2 years. First, she got to attend the National Convention of Secretaries of State in Miami. But what made this convention so big is that she would no longer be the only woman present.
Hey.
In the 1925 election, 2 women had been elected as Secretary of State as well. In New York, you have a woman by the name of Florence Knapp, and in Kentucky, you had Emma Guy Cromwell. Now, Knapp wouldn't make the conference, but really that's probably for the best. While she was Secretary of State, she developed this habit of creating checks with her stepdaughter's name on it, and then cashing them herself, and then using the money to buy clothes.
No!
Yeah, she did the stereotype.
She did a fraud.
Yeah, she did a massive fraud. And so she would end up having to resign her position and ended up being found guilty of grand larceny in 1928.
Yeah, man. God damn
New York
it.
would also never nominate a single female Secretary of State ever again.
Ah!
Yeah, so you fucked it. You fucked it completely. On the other end, though, you had Emma Guy Cromwell, who was respected as fuck. She was pretty much like the Kentucky suffragette. She operated as the state house parliamentarian before becoming Secretary of State of Kentucky. And not a ton is known about Emma and Soledad meeting, but there is one picture of them where Soledad is like towering over Emma and just kind of standing there awkwardly. But it's also like old time photos, so who knows what they had to do to make it come out clear. And other than that, you know what? Invent what you wish. It's 2 women in Miami who don't know each other. Have fun with that. But when Soledad returned, the press asked her, "Oh, what'd you think of Miami?" To which she replied, "It's a great place, so long as you have the money to enjoy it."
Truer words, Soledad. Yes, timeless.
And honestly, quotes like that make me really miss the quotes that we could have been getting this whole time. I honestly think we could have been getting so many amazing quotes from Soledad this entire time if the papers were concerned and actually gave a shit.
Oh my God, you're so right. Because obviously she's smart.
Yeah.
Then like she's witty, and I think in a comment like that is like, yeah, she comes from these 2 prominent families, so she's got the perspective to see like what real wealth looks like, and then also like what most people grow up with because of her own background.
100%, especially with, Yamelda being her best friend. She knows what poverty looks like. She knows what the middle class looks like. She knows what the upper class looks like. Honestly, she's pretty much destined to do whatever the fuck she wants, so long as her husband says yes. Now here's where the fan fiction comes involved, because part of me really wanted to dive into this, but I'm 90% sure that it's just a really unfortunate event. So on July 16th, 1926, Soledad and her chief clerk Laura Hogel were in the basement of the State House. They're searching for papers deep in the vault, and no one knows if it was a wind or a faulty hinge or what it was. But both of them kind of paused the moment that they heard the vault door close and then lock behind them. Now, they did have a key. Key doesn't work from the inside. There is actually no way out from the inside. So as of right now, Soledad and Laura are stuck in the vault in the basement of the State House in Santa Fe. So they immediately start to try to jimmy the lock. No luck there. They go to the windows and find them all barred up. So they start trying to rip the bars off. Yes. No luck there. They start taking turns at the window yelling for help over the next hour. That doesn't work. And they begin yelling at the window and at the vault door for the next hour. And no one comes. And it's right about that time they were just like, fuck it. And they just give up and just kind of chill for about 2 hours. And it's around this time that Soledad's husband would eventually find them. And it's alluded that he started looking for her because it was lunchtime and Soledad is, quote, a good cook as well as good Secretary of State.
Yep, he was hungry.
Yep, motherfucker is hungry and looking for his wife instead of a cookbook. Which, look, I'm glad he found her.
True, but
good husband would look for her eventually. But at the same time, you don't try to find your wife because you want like a burrito or tortillas or some shit. You look for her because you miss her.
Yes. You're like, hey, we usually get lunch together and I pay or something.
Yeah. Come on, Ed. Fucking take that furniture store manager money. Do something good with it, you motherfucker who I know nothing about and might have actually been a good guy. Who fucking
Right.
knows?
But your wife is a treasure.
Exactly. And the newspaper is making him look like a fucking idiot. So he gets down to the vault, and weirdly enough, the bottom of the door is wide enough that they can slide the key under, and then he can use the key to let them out.
This is wild.
This made the papers. This was the largest article about her. It's frustrating how many newspapers this made it in. But I mean, also you could totally write some really good fanfic about it, like Soledad and Laura stuck in the fucking vault.
How'd you pass the time for those 2 hours?
Oh, we filled out marriage certificates.
Oh.
But that's pretty much it. When her term was done, her family moved back to Albuquerque, entered the world of real estate, and Soledad went back to being a housewife and raised her kids. For years, she laid really low, but still kind of kept involved with local politics, but never to the point that she really made the newspaper that often. But in 1932, the party would ask her to return and run for Bernalillo County School Superintendent against the incumbent Hilario Gonzalez. However, Soledad, being a good party person, said, no, I'm not going to cause a primary at a convention. I support Hilario. And then Hilario got immediately re-endorsed.
Bam.
But once her children were grown and off to college, Soledad was ready to return. By 1934, she would run for the New Mexico House representing Bernalillo County. Now, it was 9 people running. It was top 3. You just had to be from Bernalillo County, and that's it. And she ended up getting the most votes out of anyone who ran.
Yes, Soledad.
So Soledad is now a state representative.
Yes.
And they asked each of the new people, what's your passion project? And everyone kind of had, basic shit. And Soledad, though, Soledad has a big, she wants to pass the child labor amendment.
Yes, Soledad.
Now, this amendment was introduced in 1924 by Congressman and Athens, Ohio native Israel Moore Foster. And the amendment was pretty simple. Essentially, it stated that anyone under the age of 18, the laws for labor would be decided by the federal government, and not a single state would have a say as to what those laws would say, unless, the representatives. So essentially, like, there'd be no state laws saying you have to, you can work with your 15 if you get parents' permission and you have a learner's permit, or, you could be 14 and work at a Burger King.
Okay.
But there was kind of a bigger reason behind why this was such a big deal. And that's mainly because the industrial world had not just become heavily reliant on child labor, but were more than fine with that work being incredibly fucking dangerous. By 1900, the US Census had found that 1.7 million children between the ages of 10 and 15 were employed by multiple different people and made up 18% of industrial labor. Now, attempts had been made to limit child labor, often pairing laws with required schooling to a certain age. But the practice of employing kids didn't really get attacked straight on until the Keating-Owen Act of 1916. The law banned the shipping of any goods across state lines that were produced by anyone under the age of 16. The law would be passed, but it gets struck down by the Supreme Court 2 years later in Hammer v. Dagenhart. Congress responded to this by taxing businesses that use child labor, but that would be struck down by the Supreme Court in Bailey versus Drexel Furniture. And since the Supreme Court seemed to be the main barrier between banning child labor, it only made sense to make a constitutional amendment to get around them.
Yeah. I'm so sorry your robes are done by childlike hands.
Look, they're small and they're agile. What the fuck do you want? Yeah, child labor in America is a really, really dark period. Whether it's the factories in Lowell that consistently advertised to farm families and said, hey, we'll pay you for your daughters to come work here. Or I wish I could get her name. There's a child in St. Louis who lost both of her hands in the middle of an industrial accident and lost the use of her arms as well. It was just a lot of tragic things were happening at the time to children who were working, and nothing was really done about it because you can make a fuck ton of money if children are your fucking employees.
Oh, yeah, because today's Republicans are cottoning to that.
Yeah. It's really frustrating seeing people say, yeah, just say, hey, let 14-year-olds work at fast food places. Like, people sacrificed quite a bit to make sure that never happened again. And here we are slipping back to it because they don't want to pay a fair wage.
Because they haven't had to in decades.
And now they have to because everyone found a better job. So suck it. I don't know. Maybe suck it. Maybe just suck it.
Have you tried sucking it?
I'm sure you've heard this. Perhaps sucking it? So the child labor amendment ends up getting sent to the House, and it literally passed on the exact same day it was introduced. It ended up passing 297 to 69, goes to the Senate 2 months later, and it's also passed 61 to 23. However, for something to become an amendment, like I said, it has to pass 3/4 of the states, which at the time meant it had to pass in 36 states. And when Soledad entered the House of New Mexico, 20 states had already approved the amendment, with 15 voting against it. So not only would New Mexico have to pass it, but they would have to flip a few other states to vote on it again and support it, which they could do. So it would require a lot of work, but it was something that she really felt was worthwhile. So, alongside State Representative Luella McGaffney Brown, they introduced HJR 4, calling for the ratification of the amendment. The bill would be voted in 1935, and ultimately it was rejected. And undeterred, Soledad began work on a second attempt, preparing for a possible vote in 1937. But on August 2nd, 1936, Soledad would be rushed to the hospital complaining of a general sickness. Doctors decided that she needed immediate surgery, and it's unclear if it was the surgery or the sickness, but she would eventually contract peritonitis, which is, I read it a bunch. I have a bit of difficulty understanding what it is, but it's sort of like a film that ends up getting kind of created on your organs.
Ooh.
I can tell it's like highly infectious, and it's not good.
Yikes.
But her sickness got worse, and within 2 days, Soledad had died at the age of 46. But the thing is, she would actually end up leaving behind a really solid and strange legacy. Because in 1937, suddenly they felt like they kind of had to honor her in the House because she just died while doing her work, and that's sort of what you do. And
yeah, so maybe suck it up, New Mexico.
Yeah, maybe suck it. And so, so they passed a law saying, oh, we honor Soledad and all that she had done. But at the same time, when it came up to vote for the child labor law, this time it passed, making New Mexico the 27th state to pass it. However, the amendment would fail nationally, with Kansas becoming the final state to pass it 2 weeks after New Mexico. But this is mainly because President Franklin Roosevelt was already working on a multitude of labor laws at the time. In 1938, he would pass the Fair Labor Standards Act, which is the whole reason we have an 8-hour workday, a 40-hour work week, and pretty much banned the practice of child labor nationwide. But also, Soledad began a very long tradition in New Mexico, because from 1922 to present day, only women have ever been elected Secretary of State.
My God, it's like the opposite of New York.
Now, in 2015, a dude did hold the job for a year. The previous Secretary of State had been found guilty of stealing money and taking it for gambling debts.
Women are complicated. Let us be so.
Women can grift too.
Yes,
it's totally
equality.
Fine. Look, Florence Knapp proved to us very early on that women can grift if they are Secretary of State.
Too early.
Yeah, whether it's clothes or gambling debts, you get your pick. And so the governor of New Mexico, Susana Martinez, picked a dude, like a complete fucking buzzkill. This dude named Tom Winter, I believe. Tom Winter served the job for a year, then immediately said, no, I'm not running for re-election. I'm not doing that.
This feels cursed.
Yeah, no, I'm not breaking this streak. And stepped aside. In 1926, all 3 candidates were women. I'm not sure if that's the first time that ever happened, that every candidate was a woman, but it seemed pretty important to me. 93% of candidates since then have been women. And the only man to get double-digit results was Gavin Clarkson in 2018 when he got 37%. It's kind of a weird tradition. And I think Soledad is absolutely a person that we should know these days. She broke so many barriers, but I think the reason we know so little about her is that the press really didn't give a fuck.
Yep.
They were far more interested in who her guests were, what she was wearing, and if she was going to pardon that hot dame at the penitentiary.
Oh my God.
I wish there was a name. I so wish there was a name. Or she was just like, oh, I'm gonna release a dude and say it's a woman and be like, sorry, man, this is the best I can do.
He's coming to your house right now.
His name's Joseph, and he needs to get to Chicago.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the story of Soledad Chávez de Chacón, the first ever woman and first ever woman of color to hold a statewide elected position.
Yay! I love this.
Yeah. I was wanting it to be longer, but there's so little out there about her. I was just reading so many newspaper articles just waiting for something to happen. And finally she gets locked in a vault and I'm like, finally something.
Just anything at this point.
Something fucking happened. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting, especially going into, 2022. They're going to be, Maggie Toulouse-Oliver, I think, is running again. To my knowledge, the Republicans are probably going to nominate a dude again, but here's hoping they don't, because it's a really cool it's a really cool tradition that New Mexico has without really probably doing it on purpose. That Secretary of State, probably one of the most important jobs, at least as democracy's on the line, has traditionally been held by women.
Yeah, like maybe more secretaries of state be held by women across the country.
I mean, you say that, but there are a lot of fascist women.
That's true. And then I started thinking of old friend Christy Norm.
Yeah. Look, she's allowed to do one good thing. And
Yes.
of course, now I remember. The theory is that she is going after our good friend Rounsberg, because Rounsberg decided to look into the fact that her daughter went from being denied a real estate license to all of a sudden getting it. And so he started looking into it. So it's like a grift circle.
Godzilla.gift _ let them fight.
I wish. I seriously wish. But yeah, I really wish there was more out there, but there is minimal. One of her grandchildren wrote a book about her and interviewed her daughter to get it, and he was only able to get 18 pages. It was published in 1996, and it literally feels like something you would write in 3rd grade.
Oh my god.
So minimal.
This is a Shonda.
It really sucks. I wish there was more out there about Soledad, but I'm glad what is out there now. And I hope you all learn something cool about
Seriously.
a genuine trailblazer in politics in America.
Yay.
I don't know. Any final thoughts, Una?
I just keep thinking of the Tumblr comment, Your Honor, they hate to see a girl boss winning.
Oh my god. Wait, did Soledad invent girl boss?
Yeah.
Her nickname was Lala? Was she selling Lululemon when we didn't know?
No, she's a good person.
Yeah, you're right. She would not sell LuLaRoe or try to like dupe anyone in. She was trying to stop that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. She would have been she would have done so much if she didn't die. Makes me very sad. And on that note, now that everyone's sad, we can finally end the podcast. So thank you everyone for joining us this week. And we'll see you next week on Gadfly. Girl boss, yeah. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?